Bob Vylan have put a statement out, I think in the last few minutes, but this is the statement. Today, a good many people would have you believe a punk band is the #1 threat to world peace. Last week, it was a Palestine pressure group. The week before that, it was another band. We are not for the death of Jews, Arabs, or any other race or group of people. We are for the dismantling of a violent military machine, a machine whose own soldiers were told to use unnecessary lethal force against innocent civilians waiting for aid, a machine that has destroyed much of Gaza. We, like those in the spotlight before us, are not the story. We are a distraction from the story, and whatever sanctions we receive will be a distraction. The government doesn't want us to ask why they remain silent in the face of this atrocity, to ask why they aren't doing more to stop the killing, to feed the starving. The more time they talk about Bob Vylan, the less time they spend answering for their criminal inaction. We are being targeted for speaking up. We are not the first. We will not be the last. And if you care for the sanctity of human life and freedom of speech, we urge you to speak up too. And it ends with the line, "Free Palestine." I sense an epic confusion among perfectly decent people about how on earth comments by a musical artiste, provocative, and it is for an investigation to decide whether or not they were insightful. But the reason why I don't think it will be found to be insightful is because there is absolutely no likelihood, as far as I can tell, of anybody in that crowd leaving Glastonbury and encountering members of the Israeli Defence Force, literally, physically, being there, ramped up or amped up by the provocations from the stage and therefore rendered more likely to attack these people that they are also likely to encounter. If you were, for example, to call for a pogrom while rampaging mobs of violent racists were parading through the streets of the United Kingdom and you were to urge them to set fire to a hotel that actually exists and outside which they could quite easily convene, then you probably have little choice but to plead guilty to incitement charges. But again, there is a very good living to be made at the Daily Telegraph by pretending not to understand this. Every editorial decision that's been taken in this country, as far as I can tell, apart from perhaps this programme and the letters page of the Times this morning, reflects the idea that we should be as outraged or more outraged by comments from a pop star than we should be by deaths of innocent women and children. Police launched criminal investigation into Bob Vylan and Kneecap Glastonbury set. Literally next to, Israeli strike on Gaza seafront cafe kills at least 20 Palestinians, witnesses and rescuers say. I tried to process it. I wrote, this is objectively nuts, but Impartial news currently lacks any metric to express that one wrong newsworthy thing is several billion times worse than another. There are people who don't even think that Bob Vylan's comments on the stage at Glastonbury were wrong. I still do, to be clear. But the actions of the IDF since are several billion times wronger. So now you can attack these men on stage at Glastonbury and you can pretend to believe that what they've done is egregious and heinous and a source of national shame because you haven't been able to talk about what has been happening in Gaza and Israel for years. I'm never going to talk about children being killed, obviously, because that would make me look wrong. I'm never going to talk about civilians being killed, obviously, because that would make me look wrong. I'm never going to talk about Palestinians or about the Deputy Speaker of the Knesset calling for every Palestinian in the country, in Gaza, to be shot. I'm obviously not going to mention the bloke in Netanyahu's closest circle who called for a nuclear bomb to be dropped on the place. I'm not going to talk about the settlers because what they're doing is murderous and illegal. I can't really talk about anything. But now you can talk about it again. You can pretend that you're absolutely outraged by what a rapper said on a stage, but don't mention the dead children. It's just outrageous. It's a source of national shame. But don't mention the actual dead bodies being dragged out of the rubble after they've been killed by the people that the chants were about. Do you think that's what it is? It's like an uncorking of all this backed up bile, where the alternative would simply be to look yourself in the mirror and say, I got that wrong. I should have seen it coming. Lots of people did, but I didn't, and I'm sorry and I'm wrong.